Okay, I'm going to introduce Paula, and then Paula will introduce our students. Paula is the Orange County past president. Also, she's the parliamentarian, and she's the youth chairman. I think that's her best job, but I'm just did a great job. Also, boy, this is quite a way to spend our 24th birthday party. Thank you, Paula.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us all here today. I am actually my position as chairwoman for the Youth Associates is through the OCGOP. And what I do there, I've been doing this for a few years, and I've got to be honest, it wasn't really connecting. I wasn't getting anywhere, and so I was trying to figure out this year, what can I do to reach more students? I was thinking of all my political friends. I was thinking, well, everybody thinks they know everything, and everybody likes to argue. So I thought, students, everybody thinks they know everything, and they like to argue. So we started having debates, and we meet once a month, and we have debates. They vote on current issues, and we debate current issues, where they're not debating a liberal group, they're debating each other, so they actually have to, we change it up. So they actually are debating both positions. So this gives them really great tools to go out and talk to their friends at the schools and really also put themselves in that other position. So they get some empathy for that side, and they can really understand why a real liberal person feels this way. And I think that's really important if you understand that other position. So I started really listening to the students, and that's my big goal, is to listen, support them, and encourage them. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. I want to get them up here, and I don't have a clue as to what they're going to say. I've done this before, and so I have no idea. They do this whole thing themselves, and they put together what they want to tell you. So really we need to give them a seat at the table, because they truly are the future. They're the next generation of Republican leaders. And so we need to bring them up and give them a say, and stop pushing them in the background and actually listen to them. So anyway, this is from him, and we only have one rule in our group, and that is respect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring up Chris first.
Now, I know I was timed, so I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for myself to make sure I don't waste everyone's entire day, okay? Awesome. So first off, I want to thank all of you for having us. This is a really amazing opportunity to speak in front of some of the most accomplished women in the Republican Party. I also want to thank Paula, because she's such an amazing coordinator, such an amazing facilitator of our group, and it's really her that enables us to get together and share these ideas, and also to meet other like-minded people within the party, within the youth movement. It's important for us as young Republicans not to feel isolated, because it really is easy for us to feel like we're a lone voice for ideas that to us seem to just make sense, but for everyone else seem so foreign. So what I want to touch on today is some things that really speak a lot to me as a young Republican, as a millennial. So, I have stuff prepared, don't worry. I'm just making things up as I go along. Talking about the millennials, the millennial generation really is only beginning to manifest itself as a political and economic force, and the results are worth paying attention to. U.S. News reports that millennials are dominating the housing market. Analysts across the board, from Pew Research to Forbes, point to millennial support as the decisive factor in Barack Obama's 2008 victory. We all know how influential that was. We all know what a conceited effort his campaign put into their millennial outreach. And it's no wonder with their numbers, it's not a surprise at all. Pew actually has millennials numbered at 75.3 million, which is well outnumbering the baby boomer generation. This is a serious group of politically minded people, and they might not seem like they're fully involved yet. Now, something about millennials, a little bit about who they are and why it's so strange to me that so many of them are Democrats, because millennials at their heart are an entrepreneurial group. James O'Brien, which is Dr. James O'Brien, points at millennials as possibly the most entrepreneurial generation ever. In fact, Huffington Post lauds them as the Ben Franklin generation for that reason. Now, millennials understand innovation. Right now, polls like Deloitte state that 78% of millennials are influenced by how innovative a company is when they decide whether or not they want to work for it. They have a mind to who's looking forward to the future, and each millennial knows that economic forces are what's going to make their life. They've been so affected by the downturns in the times of 2008 prior that they realize that their future is intrinsically tied to the economy. Another reason why it's so confusing to me as a millennial, why so many of my peers don't recognize what the Republican Party is trying to do for them, trying to do for the economy. Now, millennials are currently a largely untapped resource. While millennials have already showed the power to sway elections, their political participation has only just begun. The U.S. Census confirms that voter participation increases with age. We all know that as a common sense thing, but it's great when studies back that up. And that means that the opinions held by millennials are going to be reflected more and more in election results. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to engage more and more in these political activities, increasingly as they become homeowners as well. And that's something that's just beginning to start. Right now, millennials are causing major stir. U.S. News goes as far as to say that millennials are dominating the housing market. So again and again, we have to ask ourselves, if millennials are the kind of voters that should be looking at the Republican Party, if millennials are getting ready to vote, if they're moving out there in the world, how come they're not being exposed enough to the Republican message? Well, that's where I've noticed something very specific, and it's something that a lot of Republican groups talk about. It's the media, right? Liberals own the media. They own the news media. They own the television media. It's only talk radio where we still have an avenue of expression. Now, I think that's important, but at the end of the day, news media is waning in influence. It's not where we need to be focusing our attention. It's entertainment media that the liberals really have us be at. When as a young Republican, as a millennial, everywhere you look, you see celebrities, entertainers, respected voices within the community consistently backing up liberal philosophies and not even giving voice to conservative concerns, only presenting one view of the argument, one side of the argument that ultimately many people can agree on. When you say the Republican Party is hateful, what kind of person can argue for hate? It's framing that the liberals do, and they own the marketplace for framing. Now, that's crazy to me, because when you look at artists, entertainers, authors, cartoonists, what are they all at the end of the day? They're all business owners. They're all proprietors of their own art form. They are all entrepreneurs. So it doesn't make sense for them to be backing these liberal ideologies. It is solely because they have not been presented with the correct message. They haven't been taught that the economy is going to support them as entrepreneurs. It's not going to be the state that does this. As creators, they weren't looking for the state to go out and create for them. They were going out to change the world. That's why I'm here before you today. Now, one of the things that my group is really interested in doing is actually putting together a video series for YouTube. It's going to be linked to all the videos of the current Coachella headliners. Now, this is really great because these are things that millennials, they respect. The one down the aisle, I'm not sure if anyone here knows who Calvin Harris is, but yeah, so our plan is to interview young millennial business owners, people who are out there who are artists, entertainers, own small businesses, things like tattoo shops, vape shops. If you go to these things, these are actually things that are majority millennial owned, and all these people deal with things like local regulation, local taxes. These are people who would be concerned if Prop 13 were to go into a split. Well, that would force them out of business. But the unfortunate thing is, most people my age don't know what Prop 13 is. They're not aware of this CWIP process. They don't know that Republicans are trying to go out and make it easier for them to run a business in a legitimate way. That's why if we reach them on their level, if we tell them, hey, conservative ideas just make sense. Running a business just makes sense if the economy is going to be there to support it. And ultimately, the people who are going to drive the success of the future, it's not going to be the government. It's not going to be regulation. You can't legislate the economy into place. It's going to be the people who are out there driving the economy through creation, through innovation. And it's once we reach those millennials on that level that we're able to change their minds and ultimately influence the creative class of tomorrow. Because right now, it is undeniable Hollywood is owned by liberals. And there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it for the next 5 to 10 years. But 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 25 years down the line, when the current generation of Hollywood starts to die off, like what happened in the 1970s, back before, when Hollywood was still conservative, back when John Wayne could ride onto the movie set as a glorious star, things change then, and things will change again. If we consistently and mindfully target the conservative youth, the creative class, and make sure they know that they're going into a world that's going to value them individually if it's a world that values conservative ideas. Thank you very, very much. My name is Christopher Boyle. I'm a student at California State University Fullerton and Orange Coast College. And I want to thank you all again for taking the time to listen to me and my colleagues today.
Hi, I'm Robert Petrosian. I'm the current president of the Cvrwf College Republicans, and I'm also the regional vice chair for the California College Republicans. So,
Go Andrews!
whenever I was actually, I came from humble beginnings. I never really had a political background. I was actually born in a very nice, freedom-loving, red-blooded town called Moscow, Russia. And before I immigrated to the U.S. in 2003, I just moved back and forth between Russia and parts of Armenia. And before I continue, I'd like to say if Bernie Sanders really wants to see poor white people, then he should really come to my village in Armenia. God forbid if he becomes president, he needs to at least go there and open his eyes a little bit. But yeah, so whenever I came to the U.S. and whenever I was growing up, I mainly just lived with my mom and my sister, and I was never really exposed to that much politics. I had to basically find it myself. I was a very big history nerd, and obviously read back a lot, and found very many examples of the failures of socialism. Number one, obviously, was the stories my mom would always tell me about growing up in the Soviet Union. She was, there's a lot of social justice warriors in colleges that they get angry on social media, and they act like they're oppressed, but never actually do anything to improve the situation. What my mom did was she was one of those people who would get Beatles tapes and Queen's tapes and basically Western music and media, and she would buy it and also spread it around to friends and actually make a real difference. And her example was always something that really inspired me to show what true freedom really is and also what true oppression really is. I mean, these kids are complaining about safe spaces and being angry about what they read on the textbook. They need to see what's really going on in some parts of the world. But so my mom's example was one thing that kind of lead me towards individualism and also freedom and capitalism. And it was for me. It was also whenever I was doing research historically, liberals like to point out the Great Depression, because basically the political divide we have nowadays is about whether the FDR's response to the Great Depression with the New Deal was appropriate or not. You know, us as conservatives, we believe that government intervention made things a lot worse in the 1929 Depression, hence the reason why it lasted until World War II, basically. But then some liberals believe that we should have expanded the government, and that the government is needed to keep people from making mistakes and basically collapsing the economy and country with it. But I've grown to realize that government doesn't really create anything. It's sure it should be there to protect our rights, but a lot of times what it does is obstructs the process of growth, and it takes away resources that could be used for real economic growth and a difference. So whenever I debate liberals, I always tend to point that out. So in high school, I was still never really involved in political campaigns or parties or whatever. I'm from a town called Glendale, and it's not very politically active. It's a liberal town, but the people in there, especially a lot of the Armenian immigrants such as myself, they're socially and business conservative, and I feel there's a lot of untapped potential over there. But unfortunately, that's one of the problems that we have. People need to be more aware of what we stand for and what we could actually do for them, and more importantly, what they could do for themselves if there wasn't for all the government intervention and regulation and interference. So in high school, I mainly just focused on debating people, especially this one teacher that I had. He was basically a communist, and he vowed that I would become a communist before graduation. Obviously, I'm not. debated people in high school, but I never really got to actually go into the front lines of party and political operations and actually make a difference. And fortunately, whenever I came to UCI, that's where I found the College Republicans. Whenever I got in, I became treasurer, and then after 2 years of involvement, including both local and statewide, I became the chairman of the College Republicans exactly 1 year ago. And through my experience with College Republicans, I was able to get involved with campaigns, get involved with the party. I actually remember within a couple of weeks of joining, I went on a deployment to San Diego to help get Mayor Faulkner elected. And that was the first time I actually went on a deployment or even went campaigning. And it was a really exciting experience. I got to meet a lot of people, got to actually see what the average person thought about things, because I mainly just read the media and read books and looked at the media and to try to just do research and find out what certain theories are and how they help the country. But I never really got to talk to the people themselves until I went on these deployments. So they're definitely very good opportunities, and I definitely recommend to all your kids to go on one of them and really get a sense of how things are on the ground. Whether it's San Diego, Orange County, or even Fresno, as I did last weekend, and some of us here did last weekend. It's a really good opportunity, and I highly recommend it. But whenever I was chair, there was one goal that I had, to try to spread our message and to really show the rest of the campus what conservatism really is. Because I came in a very interesting time of UCI's history. You guys might be familiar with it, the flag ban. That was the first week I took over, and I already had something big to deal with. But thankfully, it might seem like a lot of people on campus are insane, but the average student, they see reason. They know when social justice warriors go too far. And that's how we were able to put enough pressure on the ASUCI Executive Council that we basically got that thing repealed in 2 days. And not only that, it was a lesson for the student government and really for students all over campus for basically the entire year since, because they knew that they should actually listen to the average student as opposed to just staying in their own bubble and their own safe space. Because that's really the problem with the safe space mentality. It's the fact that you're too offended to make friends or to talk to anyone outside your group. And as a result, it just leads to isolation, and it just leads to radicalism, and it just leads to stuff like this happening that not only does it make them look bad, but makes the entire school look bad. It makes their entire generation look bad, honestly. And that's something that I've been trying to stop. And also, the Bernie Sanders surge, when that happened, I really made it kind of a personal mission of mine to debunk every single one of those myths. There was this one article that came out in the school paper called "A Vote for Sanders is a Vote for Yourself." I read that thing. It was awful. So I decided to write a rebuttal article to the school paper. And despite a couple typos, I think they changed some things on purpose, but I don't know. I put up the article, and then the original writer for the first article put one up again. And it was basically a month-long feud on the school paper. And actually got to debate them on the school radio later that quarter for a full 2 hours. And I think it went pretty well. People are like, across. So, saw that we weren't exactly a Republican caricature or whatnot, because they're part of like the big. I never really emphasized my immigrant background that much before coming to UCI, but I found that it really helps with perception, and it really helps kind of like open the doors to get people to listen to you when they see that you're not some caricature or some stereotype, that you're actually a person, and that you're a person with ideas, and you just want to be heard. Because we're college students, the point of college should be debate. It should be to get ideas across, and through these debates, you either change your mind or you come up with counter arguments so that you can better argue your cause. So debates were something that we really pushed on campus. This last quarter, we had 3 debates between the 4 political clubs on campus: College Republicans, College Democrats, the Bernie Sanders Club, and the Young Americans for Liberty. And we're proud to say we got first place each time. There's a vote that was taken from the students after the debates were done, and they probably came in kind of knowing what we would be like, but we turned some heads. We convinced them what our views really were. We convinced them that free markets and limited government were the way to go. It's what made America the country that it is, and it's what will keep America great in the future. Because the thing about millennials, and Chris did a really good job of pointing this out, they're a very entrepreneurial and individualist generation. They're the generation of social media. They're the generation of Uber. Like, I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for Uber and Lyft, I'd basically be stuck on campus most of the time. So they see the benefits of free market capitalism, they're college students, so they experience a sense of freedom for the first time whenever they go on campus and they're finally on their own for a bit. And it just really pains me to see them give it all up to some socialists from Vermont. We were burned before. 100 years ago in the Soviet Union, they were burned. Venezuelans are sure feeling the burn right now with what's going on over there. It's ridiculous. They used to be one of the wealthiest country by far in South America, and now they can't even afford basic necessities like food and toilet paper. And anyone who even documents the situation, they get ticketed and arrested. That's what's going on over there right now. That's the end product of socialism. Usually it takes a couple generations, but in Venezuela it only took like 15, 20 years. And it really pains me when we see what's going on and we still move forward in that road. So that's why I've been doing whatever I could at UCI to try to change some minds and get some of my points across. I actually happen to be good friends with the Bernie Sanders Club president at UCI, and I've really been trying to reach him successfully. Funny story, he's actually a Republican in France, but he's a Bernie Sanders supporter here. So just trying to get around that logical bend, and after that, I think it should settle itself and might be able to get him on our side. But what it's worth, we have a really interesting situation on campus where the Hillary supporters don't like Bernie, and the Bernie supporters really don't like Hillary. Hillary's not that popular on our campus, and we can obviously see why. She's untrustworthy. She claims to represent one side of an issue, but her whole action's been on the other side, so no one really knows where she stands. So I'm gonna have a pretty easy time debunking everything that she says whenever she does become a nominee. I haven't even gotten started on her yet. I've been focused like a laser on Bernie. I haven't even started on Hillary, so yeah. And also with my role as regional vice chair, because that's a role that I took on an emergency appointment during summer, and I'm running for re-election again for that position in this term. This is something that I've been really trying to do. We're trying to get Orange County active again for college Republicans, and we've had a lot of new chapters, like for example, shout out to Saddleback right there. And we're hoping to make college Republicans really active in Orange County again, because Orange County has so many strong resources, and it's time that we finally tap the potential of that region. And we also have some very important races in there as well. Basically, the entire LA Orange County area is a swing district, and there's going to be a lot of important races in there, like Young Kim, Lin Ching. So the work that we do is going to be really important to try to swing some of these elections, because college Republicans, we're the foot soldiers of this state to try to get Republicans elected. And we've done so countless times before, and we're really looking forward to getting it done again. Thank you so much. This was very fun, and if I have to go back up in Ventura County again, I know where to go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Age?
Mid-1990s to now, I would have to say.
Sure.
Yeah, mid-90s kids.
So I would say like, how old would that be? 1825?
Yeah.
Okay, 1825. Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Audra Leslie. I'm from Young Americans for Freedom chapter at Saddleback, If you're not familiar with Young Americans for Freedom, it's a nonprofit organization that kind of advocates free enterprise, individual freedom, laissez-faire economics, a strong national defense, and things of that nature. But I'm also part of College Republicans on campus as well. We partner with them all the time. And so I'm originally from Texas, moved here in August, Houston, Texas, and so that kind of says a lot about where I come from, my background, my family. I'm pretty Republican, but I don't like emphasizing the fact that my family is Republican, that's why I'm Republican, because I think it's the total opposite for my sister, who's a huge Bernie Sanders supporter, even after she herself said that as an economic major, it would be horrible for our economy to have a very regulated government, so I'm not sure why she voted for him in the primaries. She says it's because she's more socially liberal, but personally I believe that being fiscally conservative trumps, no pun intended, trumps being socially liberal. I'm not Trump supporter, but he's okay. So that's interesting to me that, a lot of millennials kind of put these social issues above something as big as the economy and are moving forward in that respect and for businesses and everything. So when I went to Cvrwf, I promised myself I'm not going to get involved in politics. I was a biomedical engineering major at the time, and then I saw a College Republicans girl. She was tabling by herself, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just see what's going on. She looks lonely. Maybe I can get involved somehow quietly because I want to make some friends here. Thankfully, I'm in Orange County though, so there are actually a number of Republicans, thankfully. So I ended up getting involved, and to the point where I am now, where I changed my major to poli-sci with emphasis on public law, because I just get very heated about things that I'm passionate about, and I'm very passionate about the future of America for conservatives. And with the direction we're going right now, millennials are really supporting Sanders, so it's been a battle out there. But so this past Thursday we had a freedom of speech wall, and it's kind of a funny thing because write whatever you want on the board, guys. You don't have to offend anyone. It doesn't have to be political. You can offend whoever you want, basically. It doesn't have to be politically correct. Obviously, don't be offensive, and we're going to judge your character on what you say, but that doesn't stop you from saying what you would wish to say. And that's what the freedom of speech is there for. It's the liberty to tell people what they don't want to hear, and we will defend people to the death, like we have in the past, to say what they wish to hear. What they wish to say, without being politically correct or trying to cater to someone else's beliefs, which is something that I've had to do on campus just to get a A+ in a class, because my teachers are very liberal, and I've been told by other conservatives, if you do not cater to their beliefs, you will suffer, your grade will suffer. So it's been interesting to be on campus with professors who want to hear only their side from us, which is interesting because I think college is all about intellectual diversity and being able to exchange ideas freely, and that's how you learn more about both sides. It's like saying your perspective on things, you get another perspectives, and we all learn because of that. And so it's interesting to have to deal with so many very liberal professors. So that's why we're out there on the quad every 2 days a week, just kind of talking to people about the conservative message and political correctness and that whole PC culture today, how you can't say things without feeling that you have to be careful not to offend anyone, when really you're not being offensive, you're just speaking your mind. And it's I feel like we're in this bubble. It's not a real world bubble though, it's our own little oversensitized, we need to make sure everyone feels okay, which is ridiculous. That's not why we have freedom of speech. So that was what our entire thing was about on Thursday, and people were coming up to us interested in the club, and we were handing out stickers that said big government equals big problems, and they were like, oh, so what are you guys, Democrats, and we're we're Republicans, this is a conservative message, we want hands-off economics, and people they don't really have the whole conservative story. They hear so much about the liberal ideas from the professors and such that they hear the stereotypes about Republicans, we're racist, homophobes, we're bigots, all these things that's what they have an idea of Republicans in their head, so they're standoffish towards Republicans. So it's interesting, like when you actually get into debates about policies and things of that nature, people start to like think twice about their stereotypical idea of a Republican. And so it's great being on campus and just like talking to students, and we're Young Americans for Freedom, that's what they see on the banner, and they have to come talk to us about what that's about before they can immediately, stereotype us in a certain way. We actually had a girl come up to us and she said, so what do you guys think about Mexicans? Like, what do you guys think about them? She just asked me that, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? She's like, she wanted to hear something, racist or like stereotypical, and I'm just like, I believe they're hardworking people. I believe, they have strong family values. They, just simple things of any kind of culture. And it's just, I think we need to, really get to millennials on campus because they have this idea in their heads that Republicans are one thing and liberals are another, and they can't see eye to eye with us because of that barrier when it's not even there. And so once you get to really talking to people and getting engaged on campus, you can really spread the conservative message and get a lot of people to actually understand what's better for our economy, and how a man like Bernie Sanders will do nothing but regulate, and it's going to be impossible for you to start small businesses in a country that's been known for freedom and business-wise and economically. And so it's just, it's really hard out there, but it's great to be a part of this and talking to students all the time about conservative message and laissez-faire economics and what it's going to do for the future of America. And that's why I'm so passionate about this right now, especially with the presidential election coming up, because Bernie Sanders is doing great for the millennials. And in 2008, Obama actually got, this is a random fact, but he got 96% of people on Ivy League board educators that they voted for him. So that just shows you how indoctrinated our professors are on campus. It's all one-sided politics, and being in a college classroom and signing up for an education, you don't really get a choice of who's going to be teaching you or what they're going to be advocating for. You just have to listen, and you want a good grade, but you also want to, say your perspective on these issues. And you get some professors who do, they allow you to really give your side of the story, which I've been doing in my political science class. I have a great professor, he's actually our advisor. He's not conservative, but he does like to hear an exchange of ideas. That's great, you don't always get that, because in some of my other classes, all we learn about is white privilege, how horrible our founding fathers were, and the institutional racism that our country is still in, even though there are no laws to date that actually keep a certain ethnic group down below, which is, really interesting because we have laws to bring them up, but still we hear about institutional racism and how we're still, it's going to be around forever and ever, and we can never do enough to end this. So it's just, it's interesting. So I'm Young Americans for Freedom and College Republicans, and I would love any support. We're trying to get Venture Bureau on campus to kind of stir up some of these ideas that are going around, especially with Sanders, and hopefully we can get them on campus. Thank you so much.
Everyone. Well, my name is Lisa Danzig, and I just have to say, before I move forward, how amazing is it? And I know we have a room and we talk about millennials being socialists and Bernie fans, but how amazing is it that I hope this is a sign of hope, a glimmer of hope, that you have students like us and you have here coming to speak to you, coming to talk to you about our experiences and what we're doing to fight the fight against Democrats here in California alone. But not only that, but you have people like us, you have thousands of us all across the state. We have college Republican chapters at 50 campuses in the state, where we have dozens of students just like us every single day, fighting with our liberal professors, speaking to students on campus, and doing what we can to put Republicans in office. So I just think, let's have a hand for everyone. Like I said, I'm originally from Simi Valley, so happy to say home of the Reagan Library, the CRs I meet everywhere. I am a senior at USC, political science major, and I am vice president of the USC College Republicans, as well as Los Angeles Regional Vice Chair for the California College Republicans, which is a very long and fancy title, but it's essentially director of LA campuses here for College Republicans. And I was going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing at USC, what we've been doing in LA, and what we're doing for the future. Because in the last 2 years for College Republicans, our goal has been to grow our chapters. Our goal has been to really bring our voice onto campus and make sure everyone knows that we are aware and that the conservative message is the correct message for the future. But that's changed. It's 2016. We broke the supermajority in 2014, the California legislature, and now is an even bigger year. We have Democrats running for the president. We have Democrats running for offices to steal our seats. We have Democrats running for re-election. And this is the year to make change. This is not about growing chapters. It's time to reap our success and take the fruits of our loins, what we really worked hard to do, and really make a big difference. So what we've been doing to grow our chapters and to make our voices heard at USC is we've been bringing major speakers. And I know at Saddleback they're looking to bring Ben Shapiro, and that's exactly what we did last semester. He talked about anti-Israel and anti-Semitism on campuses, and he talked about liberal professors on campuses. And it stirred things up. It made our voices known, and it really started a conversation. We also brought Milo Yiannopoulos from Breitbart, which he's not as popular here in the States, he's from Breitbart UK, but he talked about the lies of the left's view of feminism. And that really upset a lot of students, and that goes to the political correctness culture. There were articles written, attempts at impeachment for student senators for bringing someone to campus to speak about an opinion. And that is really what we're up against. Not only are we trying to raise our voice on campus, but we're trying to combat people who are trying to take our voice down. And so part of how we've done that at USC is we have an undergraduate student senate at USC, and we've been placing our college Republicans up for election so that we can really take back our student government. And just how we put Republicans in our government offices, we're putting Republicans in our student government offices, because our money, our parents' money, is really what's being pushed around, and they're raising fees, they're raising prices to bring diversity teams and to really refocus the ideas of diversity into not intellectual diversity, but ethnic and religious and gender diversity. And as we know as Republicans, intellectual diversity is just as important. What else we've done at USC, some more fun stuff, is we actually, with the help of the Orange County Lincoln Club, have brought Hillary wipes. And I'm sure, as we all remember, Hillary Clinton's famous "wipe it with a cloth or something" comments about her server. We made antibacterial hand wipes to really point out to students and remind them the lies of Hillary Clinton and the left. And I can comically share that students who love them the most were Bernie Sanders fans. So it really raised a lot of voices on campus. Everyone was speaking about it that day, and it really brought our voice out. And the next step we have to do with that is to take that voice, take that recognition, and make a difference. So how are we doing that in this coming year, in an election year? We are walking precincts. College Republicans are the boots on the ground. We go out, we deploy, we knock on doors, we make phone calls, we talk to as many people as we can to make a difference. In 2014, last cycle, we took back the legislature. We broke the supermajority, and we're working to do more this year. 2016 is a big year. We need to fix the state, we need to fix the country, and we can't do it without your help. In terms of Los Angeles, what we've really been doing to grow this message as well is to get more students involved. So let's see, last weekend we went on a deployment up in the Central Valley, and not only was it for active college Republican students, but it's a great way to get new members involved. For me, as my time at USC College Republicans as vice president, I've learned the most important thing is that friendship is really what brings people together. We can all have a different spectrum of beliefs in the Republican Party, we can all have different plans, different goals in life, but what keeps kids coming back to College Republicans is the friendships we make. And it is so important to me to really be a home for all Republicans and conservatives and even libertarians on the campus, because in the fight we're up against, that's the number one thing. At CPAC, CRNC hosted a poll. CRNC is our national organization for College Republicans. And almost unanimously, the number one favorite thing as voted by College Republicans about the organization was friendship. So there's really this coming together of students and building relationships and friends to meet these goals. And that is why, for me, as I know Rob has spoken to and they will speak to before, I am running for co-chair for the California College Republicans on our advanced CCR slate. And we have a great team of students who, just like all of us here, we are working very hard to bring our message to students all over California, to students who don't know about us, to students who are not sure about how they feel about politics. I can't tell you, the most common thing I hear is, I'm a fiscal conservative, but I'm a social liberal. I don't really know what I am. I say, well, you know what, welcome to the Republican Party. because we are the party of the future. We are the big tent. We want the government out of our lives. We want lack of regulation. As the people have spoken before, and Chris mentioned in the beginning, we are the innovators. We are the entrepreneurs, and we don't need the government telling us what to do. And most students feel like that in my experience. They just don't know that is the Republican Party yet. And it's our job to get out there and tell them, and remind them, and grow our friendships, and use those friendships to put Republicans in office. Because we can't wait any longer. And we really need your help for that. We have to support each other. I am a firm believer in that as Republicans, we should absolutely stick together because we all have one goal, and that's to elect Republicans. And at the end of the day, we can't do without each other. So as running for board positions with advanced CCR or on college campus chapters, just trying to get new members to sign up, we really have to support each other. And I'm so happy to be here to share our experiences with you and to hear about your concerns for the future. And I hope that we are a glimmer of hope for you guys. So thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions at the end, I'm so happy to share fun stories, scary stories, very Republican stories. Thank you.
My name is Nick Steinlander. I'm a freshman at California Lutheran University, and I'm the current director of events for Cal Lutheran's College Republican chapter. So as Lisa mentioned, I'm also running for the advanced CCR slate as field director, and what that entails is getting college students out on deployments around the state. So far, we've gone on 2 deployments for Mayor Faulkner. We had 8 college Republicans go on that deployment, and we knocked on 1,600 doors in a 3-hour period. So that was a pretty successful day for us. Also, last week we had a deployment for Clinton Olivier, who's running for state assembly. We knocked on over almost 2,200 doors between 27 CRs. And what that really entails is us, during election year, going out on all these deployments and making sure that we keep the seats that we won in 2014, as well as getting more seats in this election in order to keep the Democrats from regaining their supermajority in the state legislature. In 2014, we were able to assist with Catherine Baker's election, Ling Chang's election, and Andy Vidoc's election, and this was really able to help us break the Democrat supermajority in the Senate and the state legislature. This upcoming election cycle, we have a goal in order to knock on 100,000 doors throughout the state. So it's a huge task that we have set for ourselves, and we need all the support that we can get from you guys. And kind of my main goal as field director is encouraging students to get out. Instead of just staying on campus, voicing their concerns on campus, is actually getting out and doing the activism aspect of being in College Republicans, or even if they're not in College Republicans, just letting their voices be heard. Because as young millennials, we're kind of the ignored group in the Republican Party. You have a lot of, like, my parents are kind of like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're young, you haven't experienced anything yet. We have all the experience, and that's not really true. We've definitely matured over the last 8 years and got to experience a lot. And I think that it's time for the millennials to take over and be able to in order to lead the Republican Party. So again, thank you guys for letting me speak here today, and all of your guys' support is very important to us. Thank you.
So I'll set a little timer for myself as well. There we go. So, first off, thank you, Paula, and thank you everybody here, especially Paula for allowing me the opportunity to speak to so many young, beautiful, conservative ladies. Just putting out there, I think many of the men in this room will agree with me to the fact that conservative women are the best women. So, today what I'm going to be talking to you guys about is who I am exactly. Not just who I am, but how I became a Republican, and how I know that millennials are right for the picking for the Republican Party. I am someone who grew up in a low-income, multi-generational household, amongst many other things. You would think my background would make me be a Democrat. My mom works for a union. You know, being Hispanic, historically, we are Democrats. But I'm not. You know, I'm a Republican. And that's the one thing I can thank President Obama for. What can I say? He's made me a Republican. The first moment I heard a lot of this platform, I didn't like it. You know, I think many of us here can also agree we didn't like what we heard. And I was, what, 9 years old when this happened? Ever since then, it's been slowly, you know, politics slowly reeling me in, making me get more and more interested as time has gone on. And now at the age of 17, though I'm not able to vote in this election, I do have a say. I may not be able to vote, but I can influence many others to vote. So one of the reasons I decided to create the College Republicans over at Orange Coast College. And we have grown, we have created such an amazing team. Christopher Boyle over there, my communications director, he has done an amazing job at helping me. And we just owe so much to Paula and many others for just this collaborative effort to grow the Republican Party. Recently, in fact, we have gained independence into our club. One of those independents' name is Cvrwf, and recently we registered as a Republican. Slowly, surely, we are getting that. And the reason why is because I believe in each and every one of us, there is a conservative heart. What I mean by a conservative heart, it's an American heart. American is conservative in nature. That's how it is. But what is this conservative heart? Conservative heart is something that understands that government is not the answer. It is the individual who, out of charity, gives to others. Jesus didn't say, give to Caesar so that way he can take care of the rest of you. He said, give of yourselves to others. And that's what we are trying to model with our party. On top of that, this individual spirit. The fact of the matter is, none of us were made alike. I'm not like you, I'm not like you, I'm myself. We're all unique. And that's what Republicanism stands for. That's what conservatism stands for. You know, Democrats like to say, you fit into this perfect mold, but you simply don't. The reason I say every single person here, and every single one as a whole, has that conservative heart, is because growing up in the greatest country on earth, we understand that we all have unique rights, God-given rights, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Democratic Party doesn't want to assure you any of those three. The Republican Party does. Any conservative candidate does. So why is it that I'm a conservative still? Like I said, it was Obama, but the reason why is because Obama ignited the flame in that conservative heart. That's what it's all about. You have to ignite the flame. You see, bleeding heart liberals, the reason why they are called bleeding heart is because they feel victimized. They feel that something has been done wrong to them. They feel entitled to other people's stuff. When it comes to the Republican Party, we don't feel victimized. We go on defense. We march and we protect what is ours. The reason why I believe millennials are the perfect example, perfect group to bring over now is because we're ready to march. Our generation has witnessed nothing but war. I was born in 1998. There has been no peacetime since. We're witnessing, what, $19 trillion in debt now. And it is ridiculous. We are witnessing government continually raising taxes on us and recklessly spending our funds. We're witnessing corruption in many levels of government. And we're not victimized. We're not. We're letting them do this to ourselves. But now we can understand that we have to ignite that flame. We are burning heart conservatives. And the reason why we can ignite that flame is, well, not the reason why, but how to ignite that flame is showing what Democrats throughout history have done to individuals, not victimizing them, but simply explaining to individuals the history of the Democratic Party. The reason why I created my chapter over at Orange Coast College is because I understood that if I did not educate people, then who would? Who would stand up and fight? That's what conservatism is about. It's about fighting. That's what I'm doing. That's what many others are doing. And we all know that with this coming election, we have a tough choice. You know, the Republican field is whittling down. We see on the Democratic side a socialist and someone who deserves to be in prison, frankly, for breaking federal law. Let's face it. One of the biggest issues that the Republican Party faces is the individualism within the party. Unlike the Democrats, who are very united because they believe in this communal sort of organization, this cookie-cutter organization, we understand that everybody has different views. And we see infighting sometimes. That's the fact of the matter is when you have unique ideas amongst individuals within your group, you witness that you will argue, you will disagree, but there are those commonalities you can all agree on. I think everybody here, by show of hands, who here believes that big government is not the answer? I should see everybody's hand. Yep, I do. All right. So that's a commonality. That's a commonality across all sectors of the Republican Party, and even amongst independents, even amongst some Democrats. In fact, to dive in further, I would like to state that you don't have to be a Republican to have a conservative heart, to have a burning conservative heart. You could be a Democrat. You could be an independent. And the reason I say this is because they can have that burning heart, but just not realize that they're conservatives yet. They can just not realize that they are Republicans yet. That's why we educate them. That's why we go to the streets and we fight. Right now, I'm working on 2 campaigns, Ling Ling Chang's and Young Kim's, both very contested seats that we're trying to keep to make sure we can save California from itself. And you know what? I go door to door, and these people who are so apathetic to politics, they get interested. You know, I've witnessed this with many other individuals who work on the campaign with me. They are igniting those flames. They are allowing people to understand what is happening in our country, in our state, in our cities. That's what we always have to do. And, you know, I'm proud of this organization before me because I see so many young ladies here. Yes, young ladies who are educating the populace. A corporal work of mercy, I believe, is educate the ignorant. That's what you have to do. It is through our servitude that we continue to do this, and it's through our unity as a party that we're able to exhibit this behavior. If we do not unite, we will continually lose. That is a fact. We have seen this numerous times. We've seen it at the state level when it comes to elections as well. We see numerous Republicans getting in the race, Democrats taking the top, especially in California with the showing primaries. So, with that said, I ask you all today to continue to let your hearts burn, to continue to let conservatism thrive, to bring over those millennials, because I know that we can. And I would like to ask everybody if they can make a pledge today. Will you pledge to bring millennials to the conservative movement? Who here will do that? Raise your hand, please. I am proud to call myself a conservative, and I know everybody else in this room is as well. And I thank you for this opportunity. And again, thank you so much, Paula. I look forward to working with all of you in the future and making sure that the conservative movement is the only movement that exists because it is the right movement and it is the right way. After all, we are the right wing.
Hello everyone. I was told I have 10 minutes, but I assure you I will go over that. So, like my colleagues said, they're very proud to be here, so let me just go on the record to say that I love women too. It's not just exclusive to them. And speaking of women, this isn't my first time I've gone to other Republican women's groups and spoke to them about this, but about Paula, how long ago was it when we were in Huntington Harbor?
It's a few months ago.
A few months ago, about a few months ago, we were at Huntington Harbor. Phenomenal group of women, by the way. I absolutely love them. I love you guys too, don't get me wrong. I love the men too, don't feel left out. Not in that kind of way, but you know what I mean. So one of my friends gave a speech. Honestly, I don't think he knew what he was talking about really, but one question he said stood out to me throughout this entire period of time. He asked a bunch of elderly Republican women why they are conservatives. And I thought this question was truly startling because of all the things you could ask Republican women, you would ask them why they're conservatives. But that question, I then spent the rest of the time between then and now thinking about that question, and it appears to me that what the left or the PC groups or the social justice warriors, whatever you want to call them, what they're great at doing is they're good at controlling the message. They know what they believe and they will fight to death for what they believe. And I can tell you right now how we can message us, but you've already heard 5 people, 6 people, how many people? 6 people do that. So I'm going to tell you what I think is their way of doing it. I think they're good at doing 3 things. They're good at organizing, they're good at using the amount of people they organize to pounce upon you, and they're good at controlling the narrative. And I learned this firsthand actually on my campus, where I did the very grave mistake of putting a joke about Islam on a private event page, let alone. That, unfortunately, it got out, and it got into the hands of the Muslim Student Union. Yeah, that's just the first part of the story. That's not even bad yet. It gets worse. So I just happened to be a student council representative on our student government. So in a matter of a day, they got about 70 Muslims organized together, and they came to the council meeting the next day, and I go in there, and there's just about 70 Muslims sitting on the side. I'm like, what's happening right now? It was totally out of the blue, unannounced, and they're just sitting there with huge posters with my name written in red, like, let's talk about George, let's talk about Islam, stop stereotyping our religion. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, it was a joke. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm not that kind of person. But unfortunately, they would not listen. So for the next 30 minutes in that meeting, I had to sit through what is part 2. Part 1 is them organizing their little people to come and arraign me. Part 2 is the act of fighting someone's character. So what they did was, sorry about that, you don't fuck my message. So what they did was they called me a racist, they called me a bigot, they had my actual post on a really large poster. I'm actually surprised by the amount of organization and work they did to come do that to me. It shocked me. I actually would like to thank them for letting me know what they do when something like this happens. So once they did that, I was distraught. I was actually shocked. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? So I left that council meeting, and then the following 2 days, campus media comes out, completely misrepresenting everything I said. So now, on my campus, I'm known as the racist, bigoted Islamophobe. I don't even know whether to be proud of that or whether to be disappointed, but I mean, initially I was like, oh my God, this is so sad, but then it just got kind of funny how pissed off they got over a joke. So, that's part 2. Part 3, what did I say part 3 was? What?
The narrative.
The narrative, yes. Part 3 was the narrative. I can't believe I forgot what I said. So the narrative being, they now control the narrative that I'm a racist and Islamophobe, and they did this in a matter of 3 days. So that's to me, that's what they do. I'm pretty sure you experienced your own struggles with that kind of stuff from liberals. But that's what happened. And before I move on, I would just like to ask, who's a Donald Trump fan here?
We're all kids. We can be a Republican party.
people come out of the closet. I'm actually a John Kasich supporter. But I want to say that I really don't agree with any of the Republican candidates, absolutely. But if there's one reason I have to appreciate Donald Trump is that he goes out there, he says what he wants to say, and he does not back down. And I think that's 90% of what he says is nonsensical to me. I don't understand. He never actually answers a question. I don't know if you've noticed this. Like he does a little dance around. Someone asks him, "What are you going to do about military spending?" He talks about Social Security. Like most of the time, he just goes around talking. But he does this in a fully confident manner, and I think to me that's why people like him, because he goes out there, he says what he wants to say, he doesn't back down, and now he's about to become our nominee, but we don't even know what he believes. So he's about to become our standard bearer, but we don't know what his message system is. And I hope, Mr. Donald Trump, if you're listening to me, I am on camera. I hope this will get out to us soon, that you are successfully able to message our party's platform in a way that will bring out more voters. And I think the Republican Party's message is best summarized by Rick Santorum's 2012 campaign theme. And even though I don't really think he knew what he was doing in 2012, he was just a token conservative, had no strategy to be in nominee whatsoever. His theme of faith, family, and freedom, to me, best personifies what the Republican Party stands for. And, well, let me just explain what I think that slogan means. To me, faith doesn't mean faith in God. It can mean that, it does mean that for most of us, but to me, faith means believing in what this flag stands for right here, believing in the symbol of freedom, that in the faith that American values are exceptional and that this country is the best country on earth, and it's a beacon of hope for all that are oppressed around the world, and it's shining, as Reagan put it, the shining city on a hill that is about to wake up to a beautiful morning where people are free. And the second part, freedom, is freedom to choose how you live, freedom to know that the government is you control the government, not the other way around. Freedom to know that there are constitutional rights which you are given by God, not by the government, that you have certain unalienable rights, and part of those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And family, of course, where would we be without our families? After all, our families are the bedrock of our society. So, my point is here that Donald Trump has done part one. He's organized a bunch of people that are passionate about America and that are concerned that our country is going in the wrong direction. Part two is, well, yeah, he's done a lot of tar feathering to everyone he doesn't like. So if you could just focus on liberals, that would be great. And part three is controlling the narrative, which is, I hope this gets out to faith, family, and freedom. And with that, I hope that he wins, and I don't hope that he wins. I'm not a Trump supporter, I don't want to. If he wins, he wins. Tough luck for everyone else, but if he wins, I hope that he understands why he won, and he understands the things he did that brought all the people that are now his supporters, and he doesn't turn his back on them the second he's elected to office. Because we know Republicans are sometimes capable of doing that. They act like they talk the talk and then they never walk the walk. So, Mitch McConnell, for example, the fact that he's doing this grandstanding with the Supreme Court nominee came to me as an absolute shock. Because until now, I thought he did not have a pair. But now with this entire Supreme Court nominee situation, I'm actually very surprised. I think Donald Trump had a profound impact on this guy's mentality, and he's now able to actually stand up for what the Republican Party stands for. So, our job now here is to go out and elect freedom-loving Republicans. That's all I can say. And who is the assembly candidate, Carrie Nelson? All right. Well, I was going to ask her if she's a freedom-loving Republican. She is. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Do everything in your power to elect her, because she's the type of person we need in California. I should say California, because we knows what the next law is that something is going to be passed. But at the end of the day, if we don't win, I don't know what our future is going to look like. And yes, and that's what I wanted to say. I usually end out by saying Republican women are the best kind of women, but Josh stole that joke from me before he started.
You can never say it enough.
That is true. Before I give up the podium to someone else, I'm over my time now, though. I usually go over my time. I'm over my time.
I'm sorry, I'm not the timekeeper, it was Christopher Rice.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you're running at 11:14 right now.
That's good. I always do this trend, so I'm not. So let me just finish by saying, of course, the best kind of woman is a Republican woman. So God bless all of you. God bless the college and God bless
Surprised me with my ear to speak. But I just wanted to give you a little insight on our meetings that we have at headquarters. Actually, since I'm on campuses all regularly, I have Democrats that show up, independents that show up. So at the debates that I went to in Irvine, I kind of connect the colleges together. So when they had the debates, OCC and Saddleback, the different colleges actually came to Irvine to support the Irvine students. That's one of my goals. I have a lot of goals that I don't have time to tell you about today, but it's one of my goals is to connect them all together so that they can support each other, so that they have bigger numbers when you're doing an event. And one exciting thing, actually after the debate, I went out to all the groups that had spoken. I congratulated the Democratic president and thanked him for coming and taking the time to get involved in his community along with the Berners, and that was a tough one. And then the for freedom and the Republicans. I thank all of them, and I've actually got a rapport going with a few of the Democrats that are planning on coming to our meetings. And what's really exciting, at our last meeting, we had a student that had not registered yet. And now I just hear after our meeting, they registered him. He is now a Republican. Let's see, Joshua, I think, Chris, you have got 4 students? Was it 3 or 4 students?
3 flips, 4.
3 and 4.
And the one you're speaking of, he was actually a Bernie supporter before we brought him on.
Yeah.
So this is what, we're not just having meetings. We are trying to make a difference and accomplish some change and to reach out to people. I never criticize. We're always very welcoming and gracious just because they're Democrat. Hey, you know what? A lot of the times I've talked to one Democrat. I'm not going to name his name because they'll know, but I talked to one Democrat. I thought to myself, you really need to come out of the closet because you are a Republican. You just don't realize it yet. I think there's such a stigma to the Republican that a lot of times they just go automatically to Democrat, but a lot of them really do. They really are a Republican. We need to work at messaging and really do a better job of marketing the Republican Party. But I hope you enjoyed today. I just want to thank my students again. They are such Diane for asking us to attend. We last year's convention with Roseanne, and a bunch of my students were there too. And Diane asked me right away afterwards, she says, I'm getting you right now. I just promise you won't have anyone else in our area until you speak here. So we did. And thank you, Diane, and thank you all for having us. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all of our students who spoke. Wasn't it great, everyone? This is awesome. I have to tell you guys, I have so much more faith in the future of our country. So, thank you. Did everybody get their 50-50 tickets who want